Check your quarters right now, because one tiny detail could turn an ordinary coin into a collector's treasure. This quarter looks completely normal, but one rare feature could make collectors pay thousands at auction. Before you throw this quarter into your spare change, take a closer look. You might be holding a hidden fortune. If you have a 2000 Virginia State quarter sitting in your pocket, your old collection, or even in a jar of spare change, you might want to take a much closer look before spending it, because one unusual example could be far more interesting than its 25-cent face value suggests. You could be one of the luckiest people in the world if your coin contains a genuine minting error, an exceptional strike, or an extremely high grade. And when rare examples appear at auction, collectors can sometimes compete aggressively for coins that stand out from ordinary pieces. But before we talk about the big number that gets coin collectors excited, let's understand exactly what makes this Virginia quarter special. The 2000 Virginia quarter was part of the famous United States State Quarters program, and its reverse design celebrates one of the most important chapters in American history. The design features the three ships associated with the Jamestown settlement: Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery. These ships represent the English settlers who arrived at Jamestown in 1607, making the design much more than just an attractive picture on a quarter. It connects the coin to the beginnings of the first permanent English settlement in what became the United States. The quarter was released as Virginia's contribution to the State Quarters series, and millions upon millions were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That means the ordinary 2000 Virginia quarter is not automatically rare simply because it is old or because it carries the Virginia design. In fact, many examples found in circulation are worth close to their face value. This is where collectors need to pay attention, because the real excitement begins when you find something different. Look closely at the obverse, where you will see George Washington. Check the date, inspect the lettering, examine the rim, and look carefully at the surfaces. Then turn the coin over and study the three ships, the surrounding lettering, and every part of the design. You are looking for something that appears genuinely unusual and not something caused by damage after the coin left the mint. This difference is extremely important. Scratches, dents, discoloration, plating, grinding, or damage caused by machines can make a coin look strange, but they do not automatically make it valuable. A genuine mint error is different because it occurred during the manufacturing process. And that is exactly why serious collectors often examine unusual coins under magnification before deciding what they have. There are also different mint marks to watch for. A small p indicates Philadelphia, while a D indicates Denver. Proof versions can carry an S mint mark and were made specifically for collectors. Condition also matters enormously. A heavily circulated quarter with scratches and worn details normally has very little collector premium, while a coin with sharp details, strong luster, minimal marks, and an exceptional professional grade can attract much more attention. Auction records show why condition and unusual characteristics matter. For example, a 2000p Virginia quarter with a dramatic double strike and approximately 15% off center error, graded MS64 by PCGS, sold at Heritage Auctions for $576 in September 2024. That is a real auction result, and it demonstrates how a quarter with a significant minting error can move far beyond its face value. Other auction data also shows that normal examples do not generally approach extraordinary five-figure prices. NGC's auction information for 2000p Virginia quarters shows an all-years average price of $269.66 across the listed MS auction records, while 2000D examples in MS grades have shown much lower average prices depending on grade. So when you hear claims that a normal 2000 Virginia quarter is automatically worth $80,000, be extremely careful. An $80,000 figure should never be treated as the guaranteed value of every coin from this year. A coin would need extraordinary characteristics and credible market evidence to justify a price anywhere near that level. The real treasure is finding something genuinely rare. Imagine discovering a major striking error that was overlooked for years, then having it authenticated and professionally graded before it enters a major auction. That is where the story can become incredible. Collectors at auction may compete for a coin because they want a spectacular error for their collection, and competition can push prices higher when the right coin appears at the right time. So if you have this coin, do not immediately clean it, polish it, scratch it, or try to improve its appearance. Cleaning can permanently damage the surfaces and potentially reduce collector interest. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and compare it with a normal 2000 Virginia quarter. Check the date, mint mark, lettering, rim, thickness, weight, and overall appearance. If something looks truly unusual, consider having the coin examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. And remember, the most exciting part of coin collecting is not simply finding a coin that somebody claims is worth $80,000. It is discovering something unusual and proving exactly what it is. Your ordinary-looking quarter could be worth 25 cents, a few dollars in an exceptional condition, hundreds of dollars for a significant certified error, or potentially much more if an extremely rare and desirable variety is authenticated and attracts serious competition at auction. That is why you should never judge this coin only by its face value. So now comes the question everyone has been waiting for. Could your 2000 Virginia quarter really be worth $80,000? The answer is that you should not assume it is. There is no evidence that every 2000 Virginia quarter is worth anything close to $80,000, and verified auction records show much more modest prices for documented examples. But if your coin has an extraordinary, authenticated error or another truly exceptional characteristic, then you may have something that collectors would want to investigate. And if your coin eventually reaches a major auction, that is where the real market test happens. So if you have a 2000 Virginia quarter, take another look before you spend it. You might not have a fortune, but you could have a fascinating piece of American history. And if you discover a genuine rarity hiding among your everyday coins, you really could be one of the luckiest people in the world. Check your change, inspect your collection, and never ignore a coin just because it looks ordinary. The next great discovery could be sitting right in front of you. If you have this quarter in your collection, you could be holding one of the most interesting modern American quarters ever released, and before you spend it, you need to look very carefully at every tiny detail. Some collectors have discovered unusual varieties and mint errors on the 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter, and certain high-grade examples have sold for surprisingly strong prices at auction. So if you have one of these coins, you might be luckier than you think. The 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter was produced at the Philadelphia Mint as part of the American Women Quarters program, a series created to honor important American women and their achievements. Maya Angelou was selected for the very first reverse design released in the program, making this quarter historically important even though it is a modern coin. The reverse shows Maya Angelou with her arms raised, with a bird in flight behind her and the rising sun in the background. The design represents the inspirational themes associated with her life and work, while the inscriptions United States of America, Maya Angelou, E Pluribus Unum, and quarter dollar complete the design. On the front, you will notice a new portrait of George Washington that began appearing on American quarters in 2022. Now here is where things become interesting for collectors. The 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter had a reported mintage of about 237.6 million pieces, so the normal coin is not considered extremely rare simply because it has a mint mark. Its standard specifications are also easy to recognize. The coin has a diameter of about 24.26 millimeters, weighs approximately 5.67 grams, has a reeded edge, and is made from the standard copper-nickel composition used for circulating quarters. But collectors are not always looking for the ordinary version. They are looking for the coin that has something unusual. One of the most talked about varieties is a die gouge on the reverse that can create the appearance of an extra object or stick near the bird. PCGS auction records even document a 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter described as a die gouge or twig error, graded NGC MS67, that sold for $299.95 in March 2022. That is an important reminder that a modern quarter can sometimes bring hundreds of dollars when the right variety is authenticated and presented to collectors. There are also examples of unusual die chips and other varieties that collectors continue to study. Some collectors have reported what is popularly called the drooling Washington variety, where a raised die feature near Washington's mouth creates an unusual appearance. However, you should be extremely careful because not every strange-looking mark is a mint error. Scratches, dents, machine damage, and other post-mint damage can easily make a normal quarter look rare. That is why you should compare your coin with known examples and, when necessary, have it examined by an experienced numismatist or professional grading service. Condition is another major factor. A circulated quarter with scratches and wear may only be worth a small premium, while an exceptionally preserved coin with strong luster and almost no marks can become much more desirable. PCGS lists an auction record of $2,375 for a 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter graded MS67+. Although that specific record was an eBay sale rather than a traditional major house auction. Current market data also shows why grade makes such a huge difference. One market tracking source lists approximate values ranging from under a few dollars for ungraded examples to much higher amounts for extremely high certified grades. So if you have a 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter, what should you do right now? First, do not clean it. Never polish or scratch a potentially valuable coin because cleaning can permanently damage the surfaces and reduce its collector appeal. Next, locate the small P mint mark on the obverse. Inspect Washington's portrait carefully, and then turn the coin over and examine the Maya Angelou design under good lighting. Look around the bird, the rays of the sun, the lettering, and the major design elements for raised features, unusual die chips, double details, or other characteristics that appear to have been created during the striking process. You can also weigh the coin with an accurate digital scale. A normal quarter should be around 5.67 grams, although small variations can occur. If your coin is dramatically different in weight, shape, or appearance, that is when professional authentication becomes especially important. And now we come to the question that gets collectors excited. Could your 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter really be worth $80,000? You should not assume that a normal example is worth anything close to that amount. There is no reliable evidence that ordinary 2022 Maya Angelou quarters are routinely selling for $80,000. In fact, documented auction and market records show that even impressive examples and recognized varieties can sell for hundreds or a few $1,000s rather than tens of thousands. But that does not mean you should ignore your coin. If you discover an extraordinary mint error, an exceptionally rare variety, or a top-condition specimen, professional authentication and competitive auction exposure could make the coin much more interesting to serious collectors. And that is exactly why you should never spend a potentially unusual quarter without checking it first. If you have this coin, you may be one of the luckiest people in the world. Not because every 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter is automatically a fortune, but because a tiny piece of change could contain a fascinating minting variety that most people would never notice. So take your quarter out, grab a magnifying glass, check the P mint mark, inspect both sides, and compare every unusual detail with verified examples. And if you discover something that looks genuinely different, do not clean it and do not rush to sell it. Get it authenticated, find out exactly what you have, and then let the collector market decide its value at auction. You never know when an ordinary-looking quarter could turn into the most exciting discovery in your collection. If you have a 2022 Maya Angelou Quarter, check it today and tell us in the comments what you found on yours. If you have a 2004 Texas State Quarter in your pocket, your coin collection, or an old jar of change, do not spend it until you take a closer look, because some examples of this quarter have sold for surprisingly strong prices at auction. You could be one of the luckiest people in the world if your quarter has an unusual mint error, an extraordinary grade, or a rare characteristic that collectors are willing to compete for. And the most exciting part is that you might not need an ancient coin to find something valuable. This quarter is from 2004, but the right example can be worth far more than its 25-cent face value. The 2004 Texas Quarter was part of the United States State Quarters program, which became one of the most popular modern coin programs in American history. The Texas design features the famous outline of the state, a lone star, and the words "the Lone Star State." The reverse also includes an image of the state outline surrounded by an oak branch and olive branch, creating a design that immediately identifies Texas. Millions of these quarters were produced, so the first thing you need to understand is that not every 2004 Texas quarter is rare. For example, the Philadelphia Mint produced 278.8 million examples of the regular 2004 Texas Quarter, which means an ordinary circulated coin is generally not a fortune. PCGS lists the standard coin at 5.67 grams, about 24.3 millimeters in diameter, with a copper-nickel composition and a reeded edge. But here is where your quarter can become interesting. Collectors look for condition, varieties, and especially genuine mint errors. A coin can leave the mint with a striking problem, a planchet problem, a doubled feature, an off-center strike, or another manufacturing mistake. These errors can transform an ordinary-looking quarter into a collectible that attracts serious attention at auction. And when you are searching your collection, you should never confuse a genuine mint error with damage that happened after the coin was released. Scratches, dents, grinding, discoloration, dryer damage, or plating can make a quarter look strange, but they do not automatically make it valuable. The best place to begin is by checking the mint mark. AP means Philadelphia, while AD means Denver. Then examine both sides of the coin under bright light. Look carefully at the date, lettering, rim, state outline, star, and all of the major design elements. If something appears doubled, unusually raised, missing, dramatically shifted, or completely different from a normal Texas quarter, that is when you should investigate further. Condition can also make an enormous difference. A heavily circulated Texas quarter with scratches and where may only be worth its face value, while an exceptionally preserved coin can bring much more. In fact, auction records show just how dramatic the difference can be. A 2004 Texas quarter graded MS-69 reached an auction price of $3,055 at Heritage Auctions in January 2017, according to PCGS. Great Collections also reports a 2004 Texas quarter graded PCGS MS-69 selling for $6,750, with its auction archive showing sales ranging from $7 to $6,750, depending on grade and example. The Denver version has also produced impressive auction results. A 2004 Texas quarter-graded PCGS MS-69 sold for $675 in an eBay auction recorded by PCGS. So if someone tells you that every 2004 Texas quarter is worth thousands of dollars, that is simply not true. The value depends heavily on condition, certification, rarity, and whether the coin contains a legitimate error or variety. There is another interesting version that collectors should know about: the 2004 S-Proof Texas Quarter. Some proof examples were struck in silver specifically for collectors. PCGS records a 2004 S Texas Silver Proof graded PR 70 DCM that sold for $75 at auction, and the silver version weighs about 6.25 grams rather than the 5.67 grams of the regular copper-nickel circulation quarter. This means a scale can become a useful tool when examining your coin, although weight alone cannot prove that a coin is rare. If your 2004 Texas quarter looks silver-colored, do not immediately assume you have discovered a valuable mint error. Some coins have been plated or altered after leaving the mint, and collectors have documented examples of unusual-looking Texas quarters that turned out to be post-mint alterations rather than genuine errors. So authentication matters. Never clean your coin before having it examined. Cleaning, polishing, or scratching the surface can permanently reduce its collector appeal. Instead, hold it carefully by the edges. Take clear photographs. Compare it with a normal 2004 Texas quarter, and if you believe you have a major error, consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. And now we reach the question that every collector wants answered. Could a 2004 Texas quarter really be worth $80,000? You should not assume that a normal quarter is worth anything close to $80,000. The documented auction records we can verify show much lower prices, with exceptional high-grade examples reaching thousands rather than automatically reaching tens of thousands. But that does not mean you should ignore your coin. A genuinely extraordinary mint error or an exceptionally rare specimen could attract major collector interest, and the auction market ultimately determines what a truly rare coin can bring. That is why you should always inspect your change before spending it. If you have this coin, you might be one of the luckiest people in the world. Not because every 2004 Texas quarter is automatically worth a fortune, but because the right coin can hide an unusual feature that most people would never notice. Imagine finding a dramatic error, getting it authenticated, having it professionally graded, and then watching collectors compete for it at auction. That is the kind of discovery that makes coin collecting so exciting. So take out your 2004 Texas quarter right now. Check whether it has a P or D mint mark. Look closely at the design, the rim, the lettering, the the date, and the condition. Weigh it if you can, and compare it with a normal example. Most importantly, do not clean it and do not rush to sell it just because someone online claims it is rare. Find out exactly what you have first. Your coin may be worth only 25 cents. It may have a premium because of its condition, or it could contain a genuine error that makes collectors pay attention. And if your quarter is truly exceptional, the auction room could be where its real value is discovered. So before you spend that 2004 Texas State quarter, check it carefully. You never know when a small piece of change could turn into the most exciting find in your collection. If you have one, tell us in the comments what mint mark you found and whether you noticed anything unusual.